no one knows what happened except Paul Flores, and he may or may not know what happened, really, for that matter, right? Her friends, one by one, sort of peeled off as she was walking back toward her dorm room. The very last person that was with her was Paul Flores, and she literally disappeared. And I think that's what keeps people so motivated about this case, is that we don't like a completely unsolved mystery, right? We want an answer to what happened. And honestly, I think that's, that has been her mom's mantra for a long time, right? She just wants to know what happened to her daughter more than anything else.
That's Richard Gerhardt's been covering this story for quite some time. It's such a big story. Kristin Smart, missing for 26 years, a Cal Poly student, first in her family to head away to college. And she headed away and she never came back. And now her classmate, Paul Flores, on trial for her murder. Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter joined us live tonight from Salinas, California. I know we started today with the defense open. If you can give me sort of the gist of where the defense is going. Like, what is their defense here? That they just don't have enough evidence? They saying someone else did it? What are they saying here?
Zero evidence against Ruben Flores. That was one of the main themes of his attorney, Harold Mezek's 30-minute opening statement earlier today. And it's important to keep in mind, Ruben Flores, he's out on bond, Vinny, so he arrives at this courthouse through this front door, as we all do. He's hanging out in the hallway when the judge kicks us out of the courtroom. He's just mingling about, as you know, he doesn't seem too affected by this. His former wife, Susan, not with him today in court or sitting in the gallery. But his defense attorney says for 26 years, Ruben has been harassed, hounded, tailed, chased out of restaurants, assaulted because of the accusations about his son and his role in Kristin Smart's death. He says there's zero evidence. And he told this jury, take notes of the evidence. And if you don't have any notes in your notepads at the end of this trial, then you should acquit my client, and that you won't get any answers to what actually happened. His other theme was what the prosecution alleges, Vinny, defies common sense. That Ruben, this smaller stature of a man, the back deck was, he would have to be on his stomach to even go and bury a body at one point under the back deck. And he hinted, Vinny, that this jury may go see that property where prosecutors allege Kristin Smart was buried for so many years. So that was the main thing, just pointing to the lack of evidence. And he at the end said, look, this is a good guy. He's innocent, which got an objection.
And by the way, I'm all for the jury view. I don't care who asked for it. I think the more the jury knows, the better for everybody. All right, tell us about the first witness for the prosecution today.
First witnesses were the family members of Kristin Smart. What an emotional day of testimony, Vinny. It started with Denise Smart, Kristin's mother. This happened 26 years ago, but it was like it happened yesterday when Denise was on the stand, tissue in one hand, wiping tears in another. You can see her there. She would often have her head in her hands. She would give these long sighs as she just painstakingly recalled what happened 26 years ago when her daughter disappeared. She really did struggle to keep her composure, recounting those last moments she communicated with Kristin, the last letter she wrote her, the last phone call that she had. And this particular phrase was just, it was so poignant because she said through tears, you know, for the next 25 years, of course, after Kristin Smart disappeared, she said, I did whatever I could and looked for answers wherever I could because I knew there was help. It was a struggle to find it, and nobody was assuming responsibility. And I felt like the life of my daughter was of no value to anyone except her family. Now, on cross-examination, it was interesting, Vinny, because the defense attorneys, there's two crosses, right? Two different defense attorneys, and they had to tread lightly. They apologized, first of all, to her for the type of questions they were going to be asking, because they really did focus on Kristin Smart's reputation and her lifestyle she was living at the time, and that seemed to annoy the family members. But here's part of the cross-examination. The defense says, you hired a lawyer after Kristin disappeared. He says, James Murphy, yes. He erected this sign in the front yard regarding your daughter. And she says, correct. He sued the Flores family for information, she said. For money? The goal was not for money, it was for information. Money was not the focal point of the effort. So here really the defense just trying almost every different angle of possibility on cross-examination.
Who else testified today?
Well, the brother, Kristin Smart, testified, Matt Smart, as well as the father, Stan Smart. In fact, Stan will still be on the stand tomorrow under cross-examination, but Matt was another emotional witness. Vinny, there was a poignant moment where he talked about kind of the void that has been in his life since his sister disappeared. He said, when I look at my sister, it feels like a lifetime ago, spent so much time with a pure love of life, reflecting back on vacations, kind of like your classic family. That one individual, Kristin, my elder sister, it's inescapable daily. The void that's left, the individual you traveled the world with is gone, and you're left with the memories of joy. And of course, he was also crossed with this theme of, wasn't Kristin flunking out of school? Wasn't she having struggles in school? Well, she was a freshman at Cal Poly. And then just quickly, Stan Smart on the stand. He was probably the most assertive back and forth. He showed frustration quite a bit on cross. And he was asked about a key moment really for the prosecution, because the prosecutor said this in opening. It's when he went to confront Ruben Flores after Kristin disappeared. And so he was asked about, how he made it to that home. He described that. He said, I walked up there, and that Ruben walked out and said, you ought to leave or someone might get shot. And he said, so at that time I left. There wasn't any interest in talking. And that seemed to be a point of contention on cross-examination about who actually confronted who. So a lot of details for this family, and I think the defense trying to poke holes. Maybe their motive to want to cover for Kristin is what it seemed like, Vinny, because they denied that she had just typical struggles, not anything extreme.
Chanley Painter in Salinas, where apparently it's a little chilly tonight, so make sure you stay warm out there. We're sweating over here, but Chanley out in Monterey County, California. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Let's bring back in our think tank, Renee Hill, Lamor Mojdehizad, and Molly Palmer. Lamor, this is a big case in the Central Coast of California. It's been huge for years. Finally, they believe they have enough evidence to prove this case. And it looks like the defense is spending a lot of time attacking Kristin Smart, the victim, the one who went missing, the one who hasn't been found, the one who was with the defendant. That's the last known person with her, and they're just attacking her.
They're attacking her, but they also have to have some sort of defense. Put something else in the jury's mind about what other things could have happened, what else is probable, some other story, right? Because there's no body. It's been decades. Who even remembers, outside of her family, anything about that day, right? I think the defense actually has a better case in this case, unfortunately, but it's been one that I remember decades ago when she went missing.
Molly, I look at this case, and he's the last one to be with her. The testimony is that Kristin and some other folks had a lot to drink that night and needed help. So, he's the one that's supposed to help her back to her dorm room, right? And he said, I'll help her, but he never asked where she actually lived. Isn't that a little peculiar that you're going to help someone back, but you don't ask, which dorm are they in?
Well, certainly peculiar, but I think, what we're going to hear from the defense, once we move past the family members testifying and we get more into the investigating officers, is why wasn't more done 20 years ago to ask these kind of questions and maybe further explore alternate suspects, And so we will see more of the defense theme developing, and a lot of it's going to be less about attacking the character of the victim and less about poking holes in kind of the basics of the state's case, but more about the sloppy drop the ball investigation. What reopened this case was a podcast. And the last time we saw that happened was the Beauty Queen murder trial that Court TV covered, Tara Grinstead. And I think the state relied
Don't remind me.
too much.
Don't remind me of that.
It was a not guilty, Vinny. And so this one, let's see what happens with future witnesses. There are questions, but maybe as many questions for the state and their burden of proof.
Yeah, there are challenges. 26 years old. The one argument we won't hear, though, Renee, this time from the defense, is it was a rush to judgment. We're not going to hear that.
We're certainly not going to hear that.
Because when investigators solve a case quickly, that's what you do. It's a rush to judgment. And then if you don't rush to judgment, you take your time gathering. Well, it took them forever to figure this out. So that's reasonable doubt, too.
In this case, it did take them forever. It took them decades. They didn't do, or seemingly didn't do, anything for decades until this podcast came about. So whatever evidence is possibly stale, they don't have a body. There's a lot of missing parts here that I don't know they're going to be able to put together. It's a circumstantial case, and it's not a good circumstantial case for the prosecution.
All right, we shall see. It's continuing out there. But it does, Lamore, once again remind us of what? The power of the podcast.